Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 32 of Podcast with Dads. We are joined this evening by my co-host Bav, and welcome back to the show, Mr. Dhyan Desai. How are you, brother?
All good. How you boys doing? It's been a
All
while.
good, bro. All good.
It's been a while indeed.
It's been a few
Wow,
months,
it
right?
must feel like an eternity for you.
It does actually. It feels like I've spent about almost a year since I spoke to you last. Yeah, time is
And
time
do you
is.
know what? It wasn't even that long ago. Like,
It wasn't.
what,
It
Bav?
was a
How long
week.
ago was it now?
I think it's less
The
than
week
3 months.
before you came.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It was
so the
a
week
week before.
before.
Yeah, a week before
No,
Nim was about to pop. I think she was because her due date was the 28th, and yeah, it was pretty much a week. And I think we were like just so panicky, like, oh god, when is she? She might come early, she might come late. We had the bags packed, everything was in shape, and yeah, it was just a waiting time.
And what was that feeling like for you? You know, like in that time where you're just sitting there thinking it's going to be any minute now, yeah? Because I
Yeah,
missed that step. Above, I don't know whether you got that far of like thinking, I'm waiting around, but you actually made it to the hog where you're waiting around. So what was it like in terms of what were you thinking? What was going through your mind? Every time the phone rang, was it like, oh my God, is it him? Like,
do you know what I mean? Because we were together and it was like still fairly lockdown stages at that time. I think we were together everywhere we went really, but it was just a case of people telling us that the first ones are usually a little bit late. So we thought, okay, it's quite close to the date now. I think it came to like 30th and it's anniversary, and on the 30th. So we thought, let's go out
did
for
you
a
just celebrate a
dinner.
little?
Yeah, we thought let's go out on the 29th actually, just in case she does come. We went out for dinner on the 29th evening and just at a restaurant nearby. And, Nim was like, oh, come back. And she thought, I've got a bit of water. I don't know whether that's sufficient amount of water, but I think we should go and get it checked out. So we went and I thought, you know what, it's probably going to be it now. I think tonight, maybe we'll come in a couple of hours. They checked her up and they were like, yep, it's just a hind water, which is the waters that only partially break, which means that really within 24 hours after that you should really either be induced or whatever. So I was getting really excited and everything, but they sent us back home and they were like, yeah, just see what happens in the night and come back tomorrow morning. If nothing happens, we'll have to induce you. And then it just kind of began, and I think everything was just so surreal after that. Within the next 2 days we had Ivani, and yeah, life has never been the same. And I don't
Do you
think
remember
we'll
walking
know.
into like the before theatre? Do you remember walking in and like
Yeah.
being in that stage?
Oh, I remember the whole state. I mean, I remember everything. I mean, for new parents, I think like what you asked initially was what you feel and how what kind of goes through your brain, and it's just like you think of every possibility of how it would happen. Have I got the route sorted? Have I got this packed? Have I got that packed? And you're kind of always second guessing yourself, but you got to just remember, you know what? When the baby comes, you just have this thing about, I don't know, that feeling that something that inside you just knows what to do, and everything is there. Everything you need is just there. You don't
And
need to.
so when you actually like went over to the hospital, then I take it you drove up there, you guys were together, and then you got to be
Yes.
with her throughout that whole period as well,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, so just going back in time. So we went back on the Sunday morning. So Saturday night, as I mentioned, she broke a bit of water. Sunday morning, she was induced with gel, and we had the first midwife that was on her rota, and I thought, oh, this is great. She was quite a decent midwife, and we thought we were in safe hands. And then we
Yep.
didn't really see her for about 4 hours, 5 hours, and Nim had no contractions, nothing really much happened in the day. So we just sat in the suite and we just watched the Friends reunion. 'Cause it'd been, and it'd been the
What else
30th.
were you gonna do in it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was 30th of May, which was our anniversary. So I was like, this is great. Great way to spend time together, waiting for the little one, really.
Yeah.
And
So
then
did they
obviously,
take you into a suite with like the water pool and
yeah, I mean
everything was
everything.
there, the
Yeah,
high pool and
everything
stuff all
was.
there?
Yeah, absolutely everything. Initially, we were actually in a room for a a midwife-led unit, which was really
Okay,
like
yeah.
a natural birth, and which you don't really have much concerns, and you don't need to anyone. But we actually opted to go for a advisory as well. So we didn't actually want to give birth in the room. They just put us in there until Nim had contractions, basically, because of Nim's situation. They said that it's better to have just guidance, and if you can't, you won't really get the this the
That level of
surgeons
support.
or support, yeah, if you're in the midwife unit. So anyway, come the evening, the midwife was like, okay, well, I'm off now, I've got to go. I was like, oh god, no, what? No, I've got a new midwife.
No, you gotta stay. You got a job to do.
Yeah. And then we had another midwife, and what people don't realize is in the evenings the hospitals are absolutely insanely busy,
Yep.
and we only saw that midwife in the evening for about 20 minutes. That's pretty much it, and we didn't see that midwife
Really?
because how it works is obviously women that are actually in labor are obviously a priority.
There's one of you got
and-
building work going on there.
yeah, sorry, that's me.
No, just checking.
uh,
You've not got a
but
door
yeah,
to open or something.
no, she's not at it. All right. She's not doing anything crazy. But yeah, it's just it was just insane. I mean, like I said, I think it was just 20 minutes of talk time with her, and she was like off busy with other patients, really. And she was like, look, until you are breaking water, we can't actually get to the baby, or we can't even break the water ourselves, because the cervix wasn't thin enough to actually go through. So anyway, it was a waiting game, and Nim was then sent up to the ward for overnight stay, and I went back home about, I think it was like 2 a.m. So disappointed. I was just like, oh, she's not come. It would have been so nice to have her on our anniversary. It'd be great.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't to be on the day. But the next day, I don't think I slept much that night. I went home because Nim did start to have contractions in the evening. So I felt kept thinking about her and just making sure she was all right, because it's just a bit out of your hands. But
Yeah.
you've got to just
Well, the thing is, like, you were lucky to be there, right?
Oh, yeah.
We didn't get that opportunity to even sit with them. For me, when I went in, I met Reshma for the first time after 2 nights or 3 nights in the delivery room. Do you know what I mean? So, like, the fact that you've been able to be there and be with her is been a different experience altogether.
Yeah, really, really fortunate in that sense. I mean, I've heard stories of like yourselves and other people that didn't get a chance to do that, but now everything's really.
Did they not give you the option to stay the night?
No. So the ward as well. I'll get onto that a bit later once the baby comes. The ward is so strict. They're so strict with it. Like, even for me to take her up there, they were like, okay, just drop her off and then go. And then I just kind of sat with her for a little bit, just calming her nerves. And obviously, her situation, she couldn't sleep the night she was awake. The next morning, they were going to put her on the drip to basically really start the process, because it had been about a day now since the waters had broken. So anyway, the next morning I got back about 6 o'clock in the morning, and just slept in the car because they wouldn't let me in the hospital for about an hour and a half. And then 7:30 I sort of woke up and went in there.
If
and
that was me, I would have been straight to McDonald's for a breakfast, bro.
I did that the night before. I did that the day before, actually, when we were in the suite. I went to the nearby parota place and got parota.
Smashed
it. It was so good, man. I just sat there and just munching, like eating nonstop. Because they don't really, they do kind of offer you food, but they're a bit hesitant on.
Yeah, no, definitely.
You prefer to go get your own.
Yeah. I mean, it was really nice, actually. I remember that. I've got a couple of photos just to show them off. Yeah, literally. I mean, the next day it was just, like I said, the Monday 31st, and it was just, she was on the drip. She must have had about maybe 2 toasts, and then they put on the drip, and they're like, yep, you can't eat any food now whatsoever. What you can do is have water. And poor girl, she was starving throughout the day. And
come about, didn't even want to drink the water, to be fair.
Yeah, no, she wasn't. Yeah, because she started to have a lot of contractions or surges, as what we refer to them as, because we did hypnobirthing. She was on the drip from 7:30 onwards, and come 11, 12 o'clock, baby wasn't doing so good with the contractions, because the contractions were getting better, more and more and more. So she was getting about 3 contractions in the 10 minutes, which is what is considered to be, active labor. So Nim was like, can you check and see if, any movements down there? And to her disappointment, she was only 1.5 centimeters, and that's
nowhere near it. Yeah,
she was just her patience was just running out very, very quickly. But yeah, I mean, like I said, the baby's heart rate was just dipping every time she'd have a contraction, and we were just eyeing up that monitor non-stop, and it was just like nervy moments. It was just nervy moments, and it was just it was so scary. But that's the reason why we had the surgeons and the relevant sort of aid at hand. So they'd come in every so often and keep an eye on that monitor. And they just suggested that we've got to take you off the drip because she's not doing so good with the contractions. And then Nim being so drugged up and the amount of patience she's had to endure in the last 2 days almost, she was like, I think I want to go for a C-section, just have a planned one, because I don't think I've got the patience and the baby doesn't have patience by the looks of it. So let's just make a decision now before it gets to an emergency. And then it's I can't really be in there, and it's the whole process of it is just very different.
No, because even ours was emergency C-section, but all that means is that you get an allocation with urgence, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So,
hang on a sec.
Sorry.
There we go.
What is building?
Whatever she's making, she's really going at, ain't it?
I think it's the bathroom. They're doing some work in the bathroom. So.
I thought you had Nim out there doing some work, bro.
Nah, I wish. Only if I'm that lucky. But yeah, it was just the next it was just crazy because after that, after we decided that the emergency C-section, they said to us that if it does get to that point, you won't be able to go in there. So I was at that point,
because even for me, it was emergency C-section, but I was allowed in. I was present there. Yeah. It must be different processes in different hospitals, right?
Yeah, I think everyone has a different circumstance, a different sort of I guess background probably. But we just thought, let's just do the planned one, so at least we know that she will be safe and she's and then obviously the ladies come in and explain to us the procedures and all that kind of stuff. And bearing in mind, Nim had all this drip.
She's already on
what had they already given her before before she?
So they gave her this. The drip that they gave her was really to
the hormone drip.
Yeah, hormone drip to really just get the hormones pump into and the contractions with the hormone drip. What they don't tell you that clearly is that they are very, very strong. So you get the pain levels are off the charts, even because obviously it's not natural. So so it just became
But did they offer any drugs at that point?
They did, they offered drugs in the morning to her. I think as soon as she got on the drip, she started to get quite strong, and it was the gas and air, and then she was also on not the main one. I forgot now. My mind's
epidural.
Not epidural, the one pethidine. That's the one. She was on pethidine, pretty much straight away. So
how do you guys remember the names of all these drugs, man?
I think someone in this room has tried some of this stuff.
Bro, honestly, when you go through
the only name that I remember is the epidural, because that's the one that goes in the back and the one that they complain that leaves a lasting impression on their back, right?
Pethidine, I know, because that's what Priya had to take, right?
Yeah,
so
that was.
I just remember after that, they're like, "Do you want this?" And she's like, "Yeah, this whatever drugs." Just pass them over. Just give them money. But you get to that point, like you're saying, right? Is their patient just wears really thin. It's like this is not moving anywhere. I've been in this position for time for nearly 24 hours. Let something happen now, or it's just taken to, and that's what happens. And then you just look, anything.
But it is really, really draining as well, because when they induce you, like you said, she was induced, right? So even Reshma was induced, so she got induced once, and then at the end of that 24 hours, they choose whether they induce you again or not, or they consult you as to whether you're willing to, right? On our turn, they were just like, we recommend, because your baby's had restrictive movement and less movement, that we go straight to emergency C-section. So I'm guessing you must have been into a similar boat by the end of that 48 hours, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I think ours was slightly different, but in similar sort of line as you said, because it was like the baby had her growth chart was a bit wayward, so they weren't too sure of the size of the baby.
Mate, that growth chart thing was absolute. I can't say it right now, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, totally.
Like they were telling us that our baby was flipping huge, bro, and my man come out little tiny thing, yeah. There was just all this excess water around it, so they got it miffed.
Yeah, it's quite difficult for them to tell because of the scans. They're not very accurate. They say like 70% or even 60%, maybe less than that even. But yeah, it's it's in that frame of mind. I think like the fact that we were able to make our own decision. I mean, no one in the hospital said to us,
You've got
go
to
and do a
this.
C-section, go and do it. They just said we're going to take a moment and then come back onto it once she's calmed down a bit. Sorry, give it a second. Yeah, and no one said that to us, but I think I to all the viewers listening and watching even, I'd say hypnobirthing. If I was to do this whole thing again, I would do hypnobirthing again, and I strongly encourage it only because of the kind of mind frame that we were in, and being under that much pressure, how to really just manage your nerves, manage your mind, and be able to make clear-cut decisions even after Nim was like so heavily drugged up, like I said. Like
it was obviously when she came back, so she had the epidural, right?
No, she had the pethidine that she had.
Right, yeah. Okay. And then did you go to a C-section then?
Yeah, so after that, we just called the nurse in, the midwife in, and said, look, we want to go for a planned C-section. And then obviously the ladies came in and they were like, okay, cool, this is what you got to be aware of, blah, 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 blah. And again, this was the new midwife that we had on the day. And I was like, I can't deal with another midwife.
I don't know you.
And she, like, hands down, she was the best one out of all of them. And she was like young. She was really like, able to understand what we were going through, and she could really put herself into our shoes kind of thing, So it was, it just really made a big difference having the right kind of
the right
yeah,
definitely
massively helps, and yeah, she said, okay, we're going to escort you in there. And by this point, Nim, this is about 3 o'clock, Nim had no food, like I said, the whole day. And obviously when you're about to go into the C-section, as I'm sure
she's
no
exhausted
water as well. No water whatsoever.
You're not allowed, you're not meant to eat a certain amount of hours, eat or drink before you go into C-section, right?
Yeah, exactly. So just give me a sec. So it was just
one thing I will say about this show, mate, is it's banging.
yeah. There you go, man. I had this plan all along. But yeah, like I said, we just got into the theatre. I put my scrubs on and got in the theatre, and I just remember talking to Nim about some sandals and trying to take her mind off things. Just some bizarre conversations.
Because that's another thing, right? Do you know what I mean? Like, you're sitting in this room, it's an awkward situation for the both of you. You kind of got this feeling that what happens next isn't really in your hands, and then you've got to wait, and you're like, what do we talk about?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this out in the show. I mean, we went to Bedford Hospital, and Bedford Hospital, by all means, they were so good at dealing with it, and they were so, like, literally, we walked to the theatre, and the surgeon, there's like plenty of people in the theatre room, and I'm sure you got certain people that are like constantly talking to, telling you about what's happening, and obviously to make sure that obviously I'm also there to talk to Nim. At the same time, they try and just make it seem as if like she's just come for a shopping trip. It's so calm.
Well, you guys found out what you're having prior to, innit?
Yes,
as in the sex of the baby, right?
Yeah.
So when you got in there, were they like, do you want us to hold the baby up, or do you want to see the baby?
They didn't say anything. They didn't say anything to us before until they got to. So what they did was they did the whole procedure. I mean, it took forever to actually get the needles in Nim's back, because every time they'd try and do it, Nim would have a contraction. So they were like, okay, you got to stop everything, wait for contractions to finish, and then put the needle in the back again, so that she's she's completely numb, because the anesthetic you can't really put that in there if she's like having a contraction.
No, of course.
Anyway, so next thing we know, like, the baby was very close, from coming out in the curtain. So the lady was like, have you got your phone? And I was like, it's here somewhere in the space. So she went out the room, and she went to our little where our stuff was, and she took my phone out, got it all ready, started recording everything, and all we heard was a little a little cry, and that's it. And then we were just, you know, the waterwork started after that, really, for both of us. And yeah, it was just a surreal moment that I don't think I can explain in any
Did they give
words.
the baby straight to you guys, or did they take it over to like one of those heating stations?
No, they brought the baby straight to me, because obviously I think Nim was still recovering.
She was still under, yeah.
So I did the whole. I held her first, and they were like, "Oh, do you want to cut her umbilical cord?" And I was like, "Yeah." In the
Did you do it?
You know, in that moment, I was like, "Yeah, let's go. That'd be great." And she brought the scissors over, and I looked at the cord, and I was like, "Do you mind doing it? Just because I don't think I can do this."
No. Did you chicken out of it?
Yeah, chicken
Bro,
out.
would you have done it?
I did it.
What do you mean you did it? You don't even like cutting your dinner.
No, seriously, I did it, man. Where have you been? We've had this conversation.
Oh my god,
Mate,
it's
I
something
couldn't do
that
it. I couldn't
do it. Why?
No, she offered it up. I was like, I can't cut that guy, bruv.
Yeah,
but no, this like it was bro. It was like
no, I know, yeah, but I just couldn't do it, man. I was
Yeah.
there. I watched her do it, but I was like,
yeah.
no, I can't do it, man.
I was like, she's like, do you want to do it? I was like, yeah, go on, then why not? I'd had my like 8-hour nap by then as well, so I was like fully fresh for this as well, right? I had so much energy. I was like, yeah, why not? Right? Let's just go with it, right?
Yeah, 1:30 in the morning, you might have been singing a different story, bro.
Oh, but this was 5:30 in the evening, but I was just like chilled. Like I've been sleeping most of the day. I mean, nothing going on. I was like, yeah, this is cool. Just carry on.
So did you have your Del Boy moment then? Did you have your Del Boy moment?
Yeah.
You know, like where they first give you the baby and you tell it that you're going to be millionaires and all that next year and whatnot.
No, I didn't actually. I was just so in awe of it, of the moment that like, I couldn't say anything, so I just kept smiling at her, like, you know,
Yeah.
it's just, you're here, like, oh god, you're here, shit. Obviously, I didn't say shit, but
He's lying. They said all of that.
Definitely said that.
It was just like, you know, when they come to you, and like, I kept thinking that she'd be crying non-stop, but she was so calm. She didn't cry, like,
no crying, yeah,
at all. And then we had, like, obviously the Nim obviously held the baby and had the skin to skin moment, and
yeah,
you know, it's just a beautiful moment because the lady that was there, she recorded the whole thing, and we literally have the whole thing in our she literally had the whole thing, like, you know, recorded on a camera.
You got a Skype call coming in, bro.
No, I had Nim call.
Is
that you, bro?
No, he's got a team meeting going on, mate.
Are you supposed to be working, dude? You skiving off, bro?
No. It's just a busy period of it, so you just got to be logged on. But yeah, it was just Do
you know why she wasn't? Do you know why Ivani wasn't crying?
I'm not too sure, but from what they said to us was she was very comfortable.
It's also the pethidine.
Yeah. Oh, it could be. Yeah.
For the pethidine. Honestly, it gets to them. Like, for
really?
the first like good 6-7 hours, Kaden was silent. Like,
really?
Like, literally was just look at you, just gazing at you, just looking at. I'm like, you're right there, mate. And I knew it because as soon as, like, I saw what Priya had gone through, right, and I'd seen what it had done to her, as, like, you know, she was still, like, quite hazy and, you know, getting back to it. And
that's what I was going to ask next. Like, obviously, when she came in from theatre, she must have been a bit hazy, right? Because she's still not, obviously, that, you know, what they've given her to relax her from pain is still not worn off. That she's still sitting on a lot of that in her system.
What you mean before Nim?
Your missus, yeah.
Oh yeah. So Nim was she was okay.
Not the baby,
she was okay actually, because I think as soon as they'd given her, I think more than anything else, I think from what I remember, she was just starving. She was so hungry, poor girl. She hadn't eaten anything since like 7:30 in the morning. This is like 4 o'clock now, and like she had nothing to eat or drink throughout the day, and it's just like she was like, I want a coffee, I want food. And they were like, you still can't eat properly until a couple of hours later, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the moment that after she held Ivani, she kind of was like, I think, so just backing up a bit, before Ivani came, she could feel a little bit of like movement before Ivani came out. But apart from that, she didn't really feel much intense pain as much, because again,
which is really like, it is something amazing, because the amount of things that they're moving internally within her to get to the baby in the first place is phenomenal.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, of course. I mean, the surgeons were like
obviously, you said you sat there with Ivani, right? And you're sitting there looking at her, and it's just you and her, yeah.
Yeah.
In this whole time, half of your mind is like, "Where's my missus, bro?"
Yeah, it's true.
Do you know what I mean? And then you're like, "How long am I going to be here with this baby before she comes?"
Yeah. I think it was a good hour since.
No, really,
half an hour. Good half an hour. A good half.
I'd say half an hour. Like,
yeah, probably not an hour. Sorry, probably I'm exaggerating. But yeah, it's a half an hour. It did feel like a lot longer because it's just you and her.
And then you're thinking, "Oh, dude, are you gonna do a poo or something, or is something gonna happen?" Or
no, but the thing is, they don't. They told us beforehand. They were like, "Don't worry about it. She's not gonna poo at the moment being. I don't think that she should do anything. Just put the."
Were you there to witness the first poo, like the first nappy change? You weren't. Oh, you're lucky.
I wasn't. I was so lucky, and so was Nim actually, because in the evening, obviously, they say the movements for her are quite restricted. So every time she needed something, she's got to press this little buzzer.
Yeah.
And they're like, the ladies obviously come in and they literally do everything. So all the black poo, which is like the first poos that they do.
Yeah.
They like the midwives in the evening, they did it all because she had to stay there the night, obviously, as well.
Yeah. So how long were you able to stay then post delivery? Because you said you walked up to the ward, right? Am I chasing your story too quick here?
No. You're not. I think that pretty much after that, it was just, we went to the ward and they were like, you've got to be out of here after an hour.
1 second, bro.
Sorry.
Is that an airplane?
No, that's just a guy drilling.
But yeah, they were just
it's Nim putting together the cot, bruv.
I wish. She literally, she's like, I'm looking after the baby, can you do this? I'm like, oh okay, all right. She uses that every time. I always fall for it as well.
Have you started bottle feeds or anything yet? Just
we did.
Context.
We did.
That gives you an opportunity. We'll get there. All right. So go on, back to where you were.
So yeah, it's like literally an hour. They're like, you got to just be in there for an hour. So the ward, they're like, there's other babies there as well. So you just obviously just spend a bit of time here and then make your way out because visiting hours are now over.
Right.
So I said, okay, cool. And I just sat with her for so long, and like the time just goes like this when you're there, And before I knew it, it was like 9 o'clock, and I'd been there for like 4 or 5 hours. And obviously, no one comes to visit until you actually call them over. And then we had to, we needed something, so we called them because I wanted to make sure everything was all set up properly. They wanted to spend time with her and everything, And they were like, they came in. The lady was like, "Oh, you're still here? You need to be gone. Like you should have gone like 3 hours ago." and
because I'm surprised that they let you in on the ward.
Yeah. I mean, I hadn't realized that. I guess, like I said, time just goes like within, when you're like there, you want to.
Bro, honestly, obviously in the same boat as you, I was in the recovery room for like 9 hours with them. But had I have been during the day, it would have been the same as you, where they would have been like, all right, maybe 5 minutes, but you've got to do the off-ski.
Yeah.
But when it come to moving to the ward, I weren't even allowed to go near the ward. Do you know what I mean?
I was told you need to walk away like from the room. So and you're not allowed. You can walk them to the door, and that's it. You can't go inside. I was like, luckily, we'll take the stuff. I said, all right, cool, carry it.
Yeah, why not? Yeah. I mean, they are quite helpful, but I guess I was quite lucky in a sense. But I don't think it's COVID. I think it's just the way it is because there's other kids in the room as well, and you don't want to be of risk to anyone else being in there, right? So I guess.
No, but you've got to think, pre-pandemic, it wasn't a thing, bro. You'd go with them back to the ward, and if it was visiting hours, then other family members and everyone was ready to go.
Yeah, and you'd be allowed to stay.
Yeah.
Strange, before this, staying was always an option. You'd have your own bed.
I went, because I was going to book a room for her to stay the night, but they were like, it makes no difference because you still want me to be in there for all the time that you want to be in there for. Sorry.
So how long was Nim? It's not that.
There you go.
All right, done. How long was Nim kept? In the hospital for
I was surprised actually because the next day they were like, oh, you got to book in to see her tomorrow if you want to see her. I was like, obviously,
well, that's fortunate.
My hourly slot.
Bro, like, you say that, obviously. Like, you know what? When Reshma was there with Jaden, and even like I say, the guy that was there before us with his family, he was told that she was going to be kept in for 5 days, and at that point he wasn't going to be able to see his wife or kid for the first 5 days of the kid's life. Like, I was fortunate it was only like an overnighter kind of thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are quite unfortunate in that sense. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I was like, I'm definitely going to be here first thing for the only slot available.
I was here at
to
6
you.
o'clock this morning. Of course I'm going to be here tomorrow.
Then, sorry. And they were like, the only time that we've got tomorrow is like, say, I think it's like 2 to 3, I think something like that. It's like, so you're telling me that I can only see my daughter and my wife for 1 hour tomorrow? She was like, yep. And I was like, okay, it is what it is. And it I guess understandably, you know, literally the next day they were so on policing me, making sure this guy goes after an hour. But yeah, you know, we thought it would be at least several days, but then we got a call from Nim saying that they're gonna release her that same day. And I was like, God, this is brilliant, you know, like she's only been there for one night, you know.
Yep.
She's had a C-section. So luckily staying at Nim's mum and dad's, they actually have a medical bed, so which like ones that and stuff. So fortunately she was able to use that, and yeah, it was pretty good, you know, with her pain and stuff, because what people don't tell you is after the C-section you do get a lot of pain, and you know, you kind of get.
They can barely walk, bruv. That first, like, did she tell you about the first time that they forced them to walk after the C-section?
Oh yeah,
like
Nim actually had a story on that.
Excruciating pain, isn't it?
Yeah, sure. She had to go to the toilet. It was on the day that she was released, and she had to go to the toilet, and she was like, I can't move my legs. I need to move my legs. I need to try and do this or the other.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm going to pee myself. And she had to somehow just manage to just get up and just literally almost like run to the place, because it's scary, because obviously you haven't used the legs for like so many hours, right?
It's not that. It's because when they do the C-section and like obviously the drugs and whatnot, that has a lasting effect on their ability to walk. Like more so the C-section, you got to think your body internally, all of those organs that sit in one sort of like particular place have had a massive shock to the system, because they've been moved out of the way, they've been pulled and stretched, and then they've been put back in place, right? So all of your nerves, all the endings, all of the receptors, they're going through a level of balancing, and you know, obviously she's not got the strength to keep herself up, because Reshma was telling me even for her, same scenario, she needed to go to the loo or this, that and the other, and you know, she tried to walk there and she was in so much pain even with assistance. It was just mad.
Yeah, it's not fun, but yeah, it was, you know, I mean, we were quite lucky as well. I don't know whether how it was for you guys, but we weren't too sure how quickly the milk will come after. So we luckily had colostrum saved up in little tubes, and we'd frozen it. So we thought she's got something to eat and stuff. And colostrum is obviously the pre-pregnancy or just before she gives birth, a couple of weeks before that.
1 second, mate. Now that he's cut down the Amazon rainforest, you can carry on.
There's a lot of editing going on.
I'm not editing nothing, bruv. This is going out live after this.
Oh god. But yeah,
of which we apologize. We could not do this as a live show this week, just to make sure. So we couldn't do a live show this week because we couldn't all commit to being live at 6:30, but we didn't want to let you guys down. So we've made sure that we pre-recorded this show and we've put it out at our normal times just to stay on track. Back to
dedication.
And apologies for the sound.
Dedication there, right there. But I guess it's just, I guess it shows you practical life, right? You know, you've got a baby, you still got to do works in the house, you've got to get on with life, everyday chores don't stop.
Yeah, man. So when they came home then, what was it like bringing them back to, like, you say you went to the family home, right?
Yeah. So we were staying at Nim's mum and dad's for a little while, just moving to our place next week. So yeah, you know, we wanted to help, and I think Nim felt quite comfortable, you know, with the C-section as well. It was quite good to have the support that we did. And like I said, I think because they had the medical bed, I think it was really good just to have a lot of the aid. The first night was quite hard because we saw the sun set and we saw the sunrise. All four of us, me, Nim's mum and dad. and it's quite special because seeing.
What was
seeing
their
it,
reaction like when you first brought the baby home? Like even that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, their reaction was great. I mean, they were all like so eagerly impatient, almost.
Were they waiting at the door?
Yeah, even my mum and my sister and my family, they were like, I met them in a pub just to have a drink before, after I'd seen Nim, after my hourly slot that they gave me, and I didn't think much of it. I thought, she's going to come in a couple of days, And then when I told them that she's going to be coming, they were like, right, we're coming as well. We're going to come to the house and wait there for as long as you need to.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just became like,
Is it the first grandchild on both sides?
No, not on Nim's side. Nim's the youngest of the three, so this is their fourth one in the immediate family, and for me, this is the first one in 25 years. So yeah, that was pretty special. So it was quite a big new generation gap, new generation really coming into the family. So yeah, man, people were the family were just so eagerly like waiting for this moment, and yeah, when they saw her, they were just like crying, and they were just like, oh my god, she's here finally after all this time, and yeah, man, it was just special. I can't describe a feeling, the feeling for a parent, or parents even to have a grandchild in their arms. I think that's something that's I'm sure you guys know that feeling.
But looking at that through the eyes of now being a father,
yeah,
just that changes the context of the whole perspective, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, growing up, my mum used to always say to me, "Oh, wait till you have a child of your own. You'll know what it's like." And it's almost like my mum was like, "I told you so." It's your mind is like constantly worrying, not worrying, but probably not the best way of putting it, but focused, I guess, is probably the right way of putting it on your child. Because every day, like she wakes up, and I'm like, what's she doing? Is she right?
Every time she wakes up, you're in her face, isn't it? You just there, isn't it?
Are you awake? Are you alright?
I can see it now, and I can see it because he does it to us when we're all away somewhere, right? He'll come and wake everyone up. So I'm guessing he does it to his daughter at home as well.
Yeah, I mean, they call me the Energizer Bunny for no reason, right? I mean, honestly,
that's my missus, brother. Now, because he goes nursery, she doesn't get as much time with him as she used to. So in the mornings, brother, when he comes to wait like his late night feed, or if it's like 4 a.m. in the morning, sometimes she's like, right in his face, "Are you awake? Do you want to play?" Do you know what I mean?
No, it's good though. It is like I said, it's growing up having these people, like senior people and family telling you these things, and it kind of just resonates now a lot because you have your own.
We've always said something like, and it's my firm belief that you don't actually realize the true value of what this is until you become a parent. But like in that first 10 minutes that you held your daughter, and all of those things in the past that you felt were important and significant, all kind of washed away, right? And all of a sudden, your priorities and the things you consider important have completely flipped reversed on you.
Yeah, it's. Sorry, 1 second. Yeah.
I love why this always happens at the clincher when I've asked the question.
I know. I'm like, yeah, I think, everything that everything that you think it all kind of goes out the window because, it's different. It's different.
Yeah.
No one can teach you how to be a father or a mother, even, and no one can teach you. No one can tell you what it's going to be like. When you're there, you will know. You will do the right thing. You have the confidence. You've got to have the confidence. I think that's the thing that a lot of people said to us and said, just, own it, do it. You got this. Like this, no one knows your baby like you do.
Exactly.
And that is what.
And like one thing that you'll find is that there's going to be so many different opinions that you're going to cross on your path through parenthood, both of you. Do you know what I mean? In terms of what people have done themselves and, what's worked for them, what people used to do back in the day. all of these different things. But one thing that you got to realize is some of those things are going to work for you, some of them aren't. Some of those things you're going to employ, some of them you won't. Do you know what I mean? But the fact of the matter is, you got to do it your way to understand it and make it yours. Do you know what I mean? What might work for me might not work for Barb. What might work for Barb might not work for you. You know what I mean? But stick to your guns, man. Like, really, it's your time.
Really special. It's a really special moment, and it's good.
You've had two months of being at home with Ivani, luckily, still working from home, which is good. In these 2 months, what...
It's just playing
Wait
with
a minute, pause, start again. What's these 2 months? Obviously, you must have had some kind of perceptions or some, in your mind, you must have thought something in your brain to say, it's going to be like this, or I expect it to be like this coming up. What's happened in these 2 months to think? Actually,
I think what your question in easier terms is what were your expectations of like the first month or two, and how has reality played it out?
Correct. Thank you for interjecting, sir.
Simplifying it.
You know what? It's a good question, because I think a lot of people that are going through what I did at the early stages, the colostrum, I think, is the biggest savior. I think is a savior for a lot of people, and it prevents a lot of things. Like, I kept thinking that we're gonna have like sleepless nights. It's gonna be mad. It's gonna be like we wouldn't get a chance to even eat dinner and so on. We'll be quite different.
Can't even finish a sentence anymore.
Really going at it. So they, it's what I say about colostrum is a lot of babies have quite windy babies have a lot of sleepless nights and quite troubled nights, and colostrum is something that is really useful for upset tummies, and it really helps the digestion system, and that's something that Nim did a bit of research on. She was like, we've got to collect as much as possible, because the early stages before the milk comes, if you give it this, it's going to really help the tummy settle down. And I don't know if it's entirely down to that, but it definitely helped. And if I was to do that again, I would definitely get colostrum again and try and collect it, and definitely feed it to the baby, because it, like I said, what I thought it was going to happen was going to be she'll wake up every hour on the hour, because the first night she did, because she was really hungry, and colostrum doesn't really do much. It's like a small syringe, and you give about three every couple of hours, and it's not much. It's like 10 mil in a syringe is nothing, and then move on to having 50 mil, 40 mil, I think it is, in the first feeds. So the second night onwards, it just got, it's time for a feed. So she's, it just got better. After the second day, we were getting 4 to 6 hours. She'd wake up every 3 hours on the dot. We didn't have to wake her up. She'd wake up 3 hours, feed, sleep, nappy change. It was just like a cycle, and it just became, almost like a routine. But what people don't tell you is that, the amount of
once you get used to it, it changes.
It does change. It does. But it didn't change that badly for us. It was she needed more. She initially moved on to more milk. And there's some things that it's quite overwhelming when you become a parent, even oh God, what happens when this happens, what happens? People get quite anxious about these things, but what you got to realize is, like I said again, you will know, you just kind of know, your baby needs more food, you will know about that, your baby needs to,
you learn the different cries.
You will just know, it's something that you can't put too much pressure on yourself, I think that's something that we learn, and the expected,
So I got a question for you. There's one conversation that I never ever really thought about parenthood, but within the first 6 months of parenthood, it's one of the biggest conversations between you and your partner. And if it's not, I implore you to explore it. But
I know what's
it
coming.
is what? Go on, finish it off.
Is it going to be what's in the poo?
Literally, what color was it? Was it hard or
what
soft?
color was it? non-stop, man, non-stop. I'm like, she pooed, or she pooed wasn't.
It's
We literally,
amazing.
You know what? It's
how
not even.
deep
It's
we'll
not
look
even
into
between
that
you
now.
and your partner. It also becomes between you and, like, say me and Jay are having this conversation. It will just pop up in conversation, and you're having this conversation like it's nothing. It's just normal conversation now, right?
It is. As a parent, you got to be used to that kind of stuff. You know, you got to, like, when you're cleaning the poo. At first, I was like, oh god, this is poo, but it's like my poo. You know, like as vulgar as it might sound, it's like it's me.
Do you
It's a
know
part of
what?
me,
Right
you know?
now, you're in the honeymoon period, bro. Give it a couple of months, yeah.
Wait,
And you'll learn what day
let's
it
start
is.
eating those solids,
I was,
innit?
I was just
Then
about to
we'll
say.
speak to him.
You know what? We went to. We've had a couple of episodes of you know, what people describe as punamis, and we don't know what on earth is punami is, like, you know. And like she decides that she likes to go to the toilet, which is on the bouncer. She sits on the bouncer and she's like really happily smiling, giggling away, goo goo gagaing around. And next thing we see like a massive wet patch, and that's poo up her back, and I'm like, this is
Those
not
are the killer ones, bro.
this is
And
like
you
an
know what?
expensive bouncer, man. What are you done to this bouncer?
That doesn't get any easier because
It's
when they start growing and they start eating solids, and then that kind of accident happens,
yeah,
bro.
it's fun. I mean, we went out properly for the first time yesterday, and a day out, and it was like a long journey, and you know, a full day out, and we thought, let's see, you know, I wonder if she's going to go crazy on the pooing side of it, and she did, and it was quite relatively easy to manage because a lot of facilities are available to you know, parents when you're out and about. Again, you would never know. You'd never go into a baby changing room in a restaurant somewhere, right? But when you go in there, it's actually quite good. It's quite,
Massive.
you know, and it's
Absolutely
huge.
massive.
You
I
got
didn't know
everything
they
you
were
need.
big before I had a kid, right?
Yeah.
You just see it as like it just says baby changing, right? Probably just a little mat or whatever, right? You go in and it's absolutely huge. Like, some of these ones I've been into, like, I'm just like, mate, this is like your own bedroom in here. It's huge.
It is massive, and it just makes your life a lot easier, isn't it, when you're out and about? Because, you know, when we went out yesterday to Bicester, and it was just like, didn't expect there to be much, you know, just one or two restaurants. And
What did you going on to Bicester? What did you end up buying for Ivani? Forget about yourself.
do you know what we did?
Did you go crazy?
Looked at a few places. We didn't go crazy, only because she's at that
Sensible.
stage now.
Sensible.
Because we went a bit crazy before, and I was like, I bought this stuff, and she's worn it like 3 times.
So, okay, with that's a very good point to make to people who are still behind you in
Yeah.
the queue as such. So, what have you learned?
Yeah, I think don't buy any clothes because family will provide you with a wardrobe.
And as much as you laugh, Bob, it's the
It's
truth.
true.
Isn't it?
It's true. That's
It's
what
the
I'm
truth.
laughing because it's
Yeah.
bang on, right? It's literally what happened.
Yeah, it's scary because of, like, you know, what you think. Oh God, we've got to buy this, that, the other. But you got to realize, you know, family are going to go crazy.
Yeah.
You know, they're going
I
to be more
think the
crazy
one
than
thing
you
that
guys.
I would say to add to this is if there's anything you want to buy muslins.
Yeah. Oh, we.
Do you know what I mean?
I had like
You
20
can never
packs
have
sitting
enough
there,
muslins.
And do you know what? Probably I'd say get a tumble dryer. That's something that I never thought I'd say, but get a tumble dryer. If you don't have
easy
one,
work.
get a tumble dryer. Because the amount of stuff, like last night, she did. No, what was it last night? Yeah, last night she basically bought up a lot of milk middle of the night, and I had to basically, I went through like 2 t-shirts in the space of 2 minutes, right? And about
Yeah,
4
at this
muslins,
stage,
like,
bro,
went
you
just
just
like
need
that.
you need some really cheap t-shirts, and the one other thing to put on your list is spare bed sheets
Oh
for your
yeah,
bed.
yeah.
I was just about to say that.
She
Yeah.
Because if you're feeling on the bed and the bed, that's it. That's bed sheet number 1 done.
we learned the hard way, and it was like she did a massive explosive poo.
Oh,
I think like the second
poor
or
guy.
third week in, and we just laid her on the bed, like facing the bed, not even facing outside, away from the bed,
Yeah.
facing the bed. And that was just us being lazy. We're like, okay, she'd be alright. She couldn't not gonna do a poo. She's not changing mat, you know. And next thing we see, like, we're just wiping, and then all we hear is, and it's literally just went like that, like fully expanded. And it went on our
Oh,
pillows,
mate.
bed sheets, duvets, her cot, even her cot. It went on all our clothes, my hand, covered, right? It's covered. And if we didn't have a tumble dryer, it's just going to be a very long waiting
Long
time.
night.
yeah.
So where you gonna dry it, innit?
Early morning, so you know, we just like managed our morning in a certain difficult way. But yeah, it's
Do you feel like you're in your little bubble at the moment?
Yeah, very much so, man. It's just like, you know, we have like certain moments together. Like we just have that, you know, this is our time. This is like which is the reason why, you know, you have your initial time with your family and stuff, and it really helps the development stages. I mean, I'm sure both of you will probably know because you live with your family. So, you know, like the constant amount of talking, playing with, you know, with one another, like it really helps the baby's development, I think. And what we've seen in the space of 2 months is that she is like almost trying to communicate. Yeah, she's like talking. She's like fully having like baby conversation with me. I'm like, this is incredible, you know? And she's really like opening up. She's trying to crawl. She's trying to, you know, do this, that, the other. And I don't think we would have probably got that if we weren't here. I think if we were on our own at the early stages, we probably wouldn't be as far in the development.
So, do you guys have carpeted floor where you are?
In a new place, yes.
Yeah. See, that's one thing Reshma's always said. Like, I wish we had carpeted floor. Wish we had carpeted floor. And we only like when we went to Kev's, my business partner's place, a couple of weeks ago. That's when I kind of more so noticed the fact that when he was on the carpet, he was a lot more like. He wanted to explore. He wanted to like roll around. He was trying to do more on tummy. Whereas when we're where we are, we've got hardwood floors. Do you know what I mean? So he doesn't really get that opportunity. It's not soft. It's not. We don't like him to play on that. So we had to buy a rug in the end. And now he's got an area in the living room where he can just roll about and do what he likes. But I think it does make a massive difference because you've got that soft area for them to interact on, right?
That's good to know.
Yeah,
That's
no,
really
definitely. I think carpet is a game changer because they don't have the fear of falling, right? Because they know if I fall, I'm not getting hurt. I can carry on. You know, even now, Caden runs around and then he'll just trip over his own foot or something, and just, like fall to the ground. But he gets back up again because there's no page. Like, it's fine.
Yeah,
man.
It's good to know because I mean,
these are things you can pre-plan and get fixed right now, innit?
Yeah, exactly. No, it's really good. I mean, you know, we're so open. I mean, as a parent, you still always have to be so open, regardless of how much you know, because there's also so much more out there to like just understand and learn. Because
you said that you guys are like doing bottle feed as well as like breastfed, but what like what's the formula that you use?
We use Aptamil, and something that we went on a feeding course, and it's like a antenatal follow-on classes. Sorry. So on there they said bottle feed as quick as you can, even if it is just breast milk, and just try and get them trained up on bottle as well, because eventually they will move on to it. But yeah, obviously breast milk.
That's really weird because the advice that our hospital gave us was stay away from the bottle. Yeah. It's mad, isn't it? How everyone,
very different.
They've all got it different. Yeah.
It's because they're not going to constantly stay on the breast. I think it's more for the bonding time, and it's really important to have. I think it's definitely out there. But again, in hypnobirthing, we learned that bottle feeding is also quite important because regardless whether it's breast milk in there or whether it's formula, eventually they're going to move on.
It's where you want them to go to. Yeah. But the other thing is, for you then, do you get involved in the feeding process when it comes to bottle feeds?
A lot, because we've got the day and night machine.
You the chance to bond with your child, right?
Yeah. And I mean, Nim stopped breastfeeding actually completely after the 9th week, sorry, not 9th week. I'm talking about after the 7th week. She stopped breastfeeding because I think it was just getting a bit too much for her. And I think everyone's different. Everyone has like this is
some people find it a preference, some people find it quite
there's I mean people market it in such a way that like, oh yeah, keep doing it. But I think it's
you don't want a 5-year-old sitting at the end of it then, do you?
Yeah, exactly. I mean it's just, I think it's like I said, it's down to preference, personal preference, And she said from the get-go, she said, I want to breastfeed till the 7th week, see how I feel, and I think I probably will stop then. And she kind of weaned herself off it. But she, even when she was breastfeeding, she still would still collect breast milk and store
Bottle
it
feed,
and feed through the bottle. And that just meant that I could get involved quite early on, and it wasn't just an
and I think it makes a huge difference. Do you know what I mean? Not just for the child, but for you as a father as well, because you get to build that bond with the kid, and you create that time where it is just you and the kid. Do you know what I mean? Especially at a point where you've not really got a lot of interaction.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I mean, the bonding time you get, I mean, they say, don't they, like, it's when you're feeding the bottles to the baby, and you hold them in your cradle, right, like this, your
Because
eyes
they're
are just
looking straight up at
constantly
you, you're looking straight
looking
down
at
at
you.
them, right? Yeah.
And we didn't allow anyone to feed her from the bottle for at least, it was just me and them. Like, just the bonding time needs to be there. It has to be
Yeah.
between that, that constant, really. But yeah, it's, honestly, she takes the bottle like quite easily now. Like, she's, she never had a fuss. She's on like the number 2 now, which is like the one from the newborn. She's
Oh, do
taking,
you know? Well, literally, you've gone on to like second, number 2 in the range.
yeah, number 2 in the range.
Because
Yeah,
we were told, like, listen, bruv, don't even bother, just stay on number 1.
yeah. I mean, I think you can. I don't think there's nothing wrong with
Yeah,
it.
like
Number one,
it's
'cause-
never done anything like untoward. But like one thing that we did find, which is why I brought the subject up in the first place, was when we tried like one powder and then we changed over to Aptamil. We found that he had huge digestive issues in the difference from the powder.
Oh wow.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm talking because his body wasn't used to it. It had to get used to the new thing that he was kind of like feeding off and living off. Just that 48 hours, 72 hours where we first started putting him into that, bro, the guy had so much bad like gastric digestion. He was crying in pain, like
That's
crying.
horrible. I think they say that it's good to stick to one. From what
No,
we read
it will,
before.
because they get constipated and everything, right? And obviously at that
Yeah.
point, they literally cannot communicate with you. So it's just
You
a
don't
real
even know
sad
the
time.
pain that they're in. You're just trying to figure it out, and you're like, "What is it?" Like,
Yeah. It's
but
not fun for them.
But that also like factors. I think we spoke about it, Jay, when you were telling me about it, was the type of bottle that you're using, type of formula you're using. They also say
I've got to
the
say,
weight.
like, we're now switched over to the man bottles on Bav's recommendation.
ones.
Might I add?
Yes.
But yeah, no, I will agree. Like, we've never really had the problem with the man bottles.
And the mix. What do you use to mix? How do you make your bottles?
As in, we've got the tummy tipping machine, and then I use the scoops, put it in there, and then I shake it. But I don't shake it vigorously. Like, I'll swirl it. The idea is, yeah, but the thing is, if you shake it too much, you can bring more bubbles and air into it, right?
Yeah.
And that's the trick to avoid it, which is why I swirl it to capture less air.
But the man bottles are so good that even if you do that, it doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't really affect them. But the tummy tippy bottles would still leave an impact, even on anti-colic bottles.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We actually bought Dr. Brown's bottles because we heard they were really good. We literally tried them the first day, and just as a comparative with the man bottles, because they were slightly bigger and the different sizes in the pack that we got. She didn't like it. She hated it. She wouldn't take it. No, she wouldn't take that.
It's like they know. I don't get it. Like, sometimes you look at it. Like, how do you know what I'm giving you here? Like,
I think it's because you have to work a bit harder with the Dr. Brown bottles to really get the milk out, whereas the man bottles are pretty straightforward. I mean, we just bought, like I said, we bought the bigger ones now because she's moving up her feeds. But they're so good. The microwave function of cleaning it, like, it's ideal. Like when you're in a rush, it's like it's so good, so good.
You got a visitor. You got a visitor.
Constant.
Yeah. And she's saying, "What's Daddy doing? Look at those funny things on his head."
Yeah, man, it's we've come a long way now. It feels like forever, but like we've had
only just begun, man. The story's only just begun.
And it's really fun.
We'll come back to you in say 6 months' time. See how you've
settled into your new place.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. That'll be quite good. Hopefully no more building work at that point.
Yeah, we'll try and do it on a day where you don't have construction team in.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's fair enough. But yeah, sorry about that. I hope it wasn't too disruptive.
Nah, it's all good. It's all good. But But I think, like, just to wrap up the show, then, like, what's the one, like, most trigger thing that you can think of that you've learned over the past 2 months that you could pass on to someone next in line?
I think, like I said in the chat earlier, just listen to your own voice, listen to, like, don't get, it's very overwhelming becoming a parent. And you just got to try and remember that it's going to be okay, when he or she comes, or in some cases, when they both come at once, you just got to remember that that it's going to be fine. You will have everything you need. When you're in the hospital, they are really, really good. They will show you how to feed. They will show you how to put the vests on. They will show you how to do absolutely everything at the get-go. The midwives are so helpful there. So, don't worry about it. I'd say, if you can get colostrum out before the baby comes, that is really, really useful. And I'd strongly advise anyone that's at that stage just to do that, because it's going to help the baby so much. And the more you have, the better, because until the milk comes in, you really want to just really have the colostrum and the breast milk coming after that. You don't want to be giving them formula before the breast milk, is what they say. But again, each to their own. You never know. Formula might work well with one baby before the milk, and some maybe not. There's no right or wrong answer. That's my way of looking at it, and that's And talk to the baby as much as you can. That really, I feel like that's really helped the development of the baby, and that's
There's
it.
familiarity in it between you and the child. So no, definitely, man. I think you raised some really good points there.
You brought back some good memories.
Oh yeah, I bet. Yeah, I'll catch up with
you. It feels like
today.
so long ago, right? I went through it nearly a year ago now. You're going back literally a year later. I'm just like,
I think you'll find it's been over a year, bro. Your kids are now more than a year old.
That's what I'm saying. Like Ivani's two, they're literally 5 days, a year and 5 days apart.
Yeah,
6 days apart. Yeah. So it's literally like he's literally a year on after me. So all of this stuff is just like coming back now.
Yeah, I bet it's like flashback for you guys, isn't it? But it's good. I mean, being on the show has really helped me as well. I just wanted to say that, because some of the things that we discuss, and it's just like points that we raise. You kind of like subconsciously
trigger back,
taking it in, and you don't realize it. People watching, you might not understand what the hell is colostrum, but when you get to it, you're like, oh yeah, this is the trigger points that came to me when I went through that journey. So
someone's going to message in a couple of months, be like, Bob, how did you let that guy talk about colostrum on the show, man?
The show is
so
an open
freely.
platform, bro. Open platform.
That's it, man. That's it. You got to be educated, man, with this kind of stuff, because you want to just know everything. You don't want to be doing it and think, oh god, I could have done that to make my life 10 times easier.
If you need tips for the next 6 months, let us know. We can do another one where you can just bang questions at us for the next 6 months of what happens next.
Oh, definitely. I think our next big one is probably going to be like feeding solids, I think, and then potty training. Those are
your next big one is coming up within the next month, bro.
Yeah.
It's called 3 month sleep regression.
Oh, is it? Oh,
yeah.
That doesn't sound fun.
Is it 3 or 4? It's 4 months, right?
Yeah, then there must be one at month 2, because I remember within the first 2 to 3 months there was a sleep regression, and then at 4 months there was a sleep regression.
The 4 month one ruined me.
One of them is really bad.
4 months was bad.
It's where
we're talking 2 months.
Yeah, okay. All right.
In short, it's to do with growth spurts.
Oh yes.
And lack of sleep, and then that means you've got a lack of sleep, and then everyone gets a bit, heated because everyone's not well rested.
Yeah. It all depends. She might be cool. She might not even need to go through it. She might just be, all good with it.
Like, she might go through it. You might not even notice. Do you know what I mean? But you'll notice there'll be a spurt of growth within the next month.
It's because they're learning too much, right? They're picking up things. Their mind is constantly ticking. So at night, what they say is that's when it comes back to them, and they just want to repeat what they've done during the day. So then they get up and start repeating it.
Yeah, it's because they say they start to see more things, or they start to hear more things. Or
you'll see it. You'll see it.
You'll see it. Don't worry, man. Just come back. Just come back on the show in a couple of months and we'll see how you're getting on.
Now, before we end up the show, I'm just gonna say now we're at a point. Jaden is coming up to 10 months. We'll put him in his cot to go to sleep, and then we'll leave the door slightly ajar. But he is smart enough to know that I'm standing there watching him from the other side. Yeah.
That's
So
insane.
That's it.
yeah, exactly.
That is
That is
insane.
insane. But on that
Wow.
note, before we start another subject and we get carried away,
Yeah.
I'm going to call it a night. Dee, I want to say again, we really appreciate you joining us. It's been an awesome conversation, and I'm sure we will have you back here again in the future to see how you're getting on.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I'm sure.
Thank you, bro, and thank you to your
you very
builders
much.
for the background noise.
Yeah,
Do you know what I
Much
mean? Sound
appreciated.
effects and all.
Yeah, that's it.
If anyone needs a builder to come in on your Zoom calls
Oh yeah,
and
yeah. Give me a
impact your
shout. Let
live
me know.
feeds, let him know.
Yeah.
But no, like in all seriousness, thank you guys all for watching. It's been our absolute pleasure. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because you never know who could be watching and who this information might help. But on that note, from Dee, Barv, and I, have a fantastic week, and we shall see you next week.